You know that moment when life suddenly shifts, when something you thought was certain just falls apart and you're left standing there, not sure what comes next? Maybe it's a plan that didn't work out, a relationship that ended, or just that quiet feeling that the road ahead looks blurry. We all know that space, the space where uncertainty lives. Most of us try to run from it. We plan, we predict, we hold tighter, hoping that control will somehow keep us safe. But deep down, we know life doesn't really work that way. And maybe that's okay. I used to think peace came from having everything figured out, but over time I realized that most of my stress came from trying to control what I never really could. Other people, the future, how things should turn out. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. So now, I try to remind myself that maybe peace isn't about knowing what's next. Maybe it's about learning to be okay even when I don't. And if you've ever felt tired from holding on too tightly, you're not alone. I've been there too. If words like these feel like something you need, I'd love for you to stay a little longer. Maybe even subscribe, not for numbers or noise, but because sometimes it's nice to walk this path together, soft, honest, real. There's an old story about a man who spent years trying to keep his garden perfect. Every time a leaf fell, he picked it up. Every time the wind blew, he grew angry. He wanted stillness. One day, an old monk visited, smiled, and shook the nearest tree. Leaves fell everywhere. Now, he said, it's perfect. I think about that story a lot. Maybe life isn't meant to be spotless or still. Maybe it's meant to move, to change, to mess things up just enough to remind us that we're alive. When I picture uncertainty now, I see myself standing at the edge of the ocean at night. I can't see where the waves end or what's beneath them, but I can hear the rhythm, steady and deep. It's beautiful and a little scary, but somehow it feels right. Maybe we don't need to understand every wave. Maybe it's enough to trust that we'll float, even when we can't see the shore. I know letting go can feel like falling. It can feel like losing control. But what if it's really just finding our way back to who we were before all the fear and the noise? Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is whisper, I don't know what's next, but I'll keep walking. That little sentence, it changes everything. Because peace doesn't come from controlling life. It comes from moving with it. The storms, the silence, the pauses, they're not mistakes. They're part of how we grow. And maybe the next beautiful thing in your life is hiding inside the thing you're afraid to face right now. So take a breath. You don't have to fix anything tonight. Just sit with the not knowing, that quiet in-between space where you're no longer who you were, but not yet who you're becoming. It's uncomfortable, yes, but it's where strength grows and faith is born. Maybe uncertainty isn't the enemy at all. Maybe it's life's way of saying, I'm not done shaping you yet. So if things feel heavy or unclear tonight, remember this. You don't need every answer, just enough courage to stay open. Because when you stop fighting the unknown, life starts to feel lighter. Not because it's easier, but because you are. And soft, my friend, is strong. Thank you for listening, for being here. If this gave you even a small breath of calm, you're welcome to stay, to subscribe, to walk with me through moments like this, slowly, gently, one thought at a time. Life may never be certain, but peace will always be possible. Sometimes when life feels uncertain, we start to think something's wrong with us, like we should have it all together by now. We look around, see people smiling, posting, planning, and we wonder, why does everyone else seem to know what they're doing except me? But the truth is, no one really knows. We're all figuring it out as we go. Some just hide it better. And maybe that's what makes life both scary and beautiful. The fact that we're all walking through the unknown, quietly hoping we'll find something true. There's a kind of peace that comes when you stop pretending to have all the answers. When you can finally say, yeah, I'm lost right now, but maybe that's okay. Because being lost doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're moving. It means life is shifting, asking you to grow into something new. Sometimes what feels like falling apart is really just a gentle rearranging. There was a time in my life when everything I planned fell apart: work, relationships, even the little routines that used to make me feel safe. For a while I fought it. I pushed back, tried to rebuild everything exactly as it was. But nothing worked. It felt like standing in the rain, trying to tape together broken glass. Then one night, exhausted, I just stopped fighting. I sat there alone, listening to the quiet, and in that stillness, something small but powerful happened. I realized I didn't need to know what came next to feel okay right now. I just needed to breathe, to trust that maybe this moment of not knowing had something to teach me. That was the first night I actually slept in weeks. Sometimes peace starts not when things get better, but when you stop needing them to be different. You see, uncertainty has its own kind of wisdom. It slows us down. It humbles us. It makes us listen, really listen to life again. When you're not rushing to fix everything, you start to notice small things: the sound of rain, the warmth of sunlight, the way your breath softens when you finally stop resisting. It's like life whispers, hey, you don't have to chase me. I've been right here all along. And maybe that's what we forget, that life isn't something to be controlled. It's something to be felt. So if you're in that space right now, standing in the fog, wondering what's next, don't rush out of it. Maybe this is where you're meant to pause, to rest, to let old dreams fall away so something new can grow. Sometimes we need to lose a map to find the path that was meant for us. I know that sounds soft, maybe even naive, but I've seen it happen again and again. Every ending, every I don't know, every silent night you cried through, they all carry small seeds of beginning. You might not see it yet, but it's there, quietly waiting. And I want you to know something: you're not behind. You're not late. You're not missing anything. You're exactly where you need to be to learn what your soul came here to learn. So maybe instead of asking, why is this happening to me, you can gently ask, what is this trying to show me? That one question changes everything. If these words are touching something in you, maybe it's because you already know them deep down. I'm just reminding you. So stay a little while. If you like to walk through these thoughts together, subscribe, and let's keep creating small spaces like this. Calm corners where we can breathe, feel, and remember we're human. Because life isn't about rushing to the next thing. It's about learning to sit with the in-between, to find beauty even when things don't make sense. Uncertainty is not punishment. It's invitation. It's life saying, you're ready to see with softer eyes. And maybe, just maybe, everything that feels unclear right now is guiding you toward the peace you've been searching for all along. So take a breath. You're doing just fine. You know, the more I live, the more I realize that life isn't really about chasing clarity. It's about learning to live gracefully without it. We spend so much time trying to connect the dots, to make sense of what happened, to understand why things unfolded the way they did. But maybe not everything needs an explanation. Maybe some chapters were never meant to make sense. They were just meant to shape us. Sometimes what you lose isn't a mistake. It's protection. Sometimes the people who walk away were never meant to walk the whole road with you. And maybe that's not sadness. Maybe it's space being made for something new. I used to think healing meant getting back to who I was before the pain. Now I see it differently. Healing isn't going back. It's becoming someone softer, wiser, quieter because of what happened. It's like the ocean after a storm. The waves calm, the sky clears, but the water is never quite the same again. It's deeper. That's what we become, too. Deeper. And maybe that's the gift hidden in all the uncertainty. Depth. You start to see beauty in small things again. You start to trust the quiet. You begin to understand that peace was never out there. It's something you grow inside, drop by drop, every time you choose not to let fear win. Sometimes, life will break your heart to open it. And I know that sounds poetic, but it's true. When you've been through enough, you stop fearing the breaking. You realize it's not the end. It's the beginning of seeing the world with new eyes. You start to notice that the people who've known pain often carry the most kindness. They don't rush to judge. They listen more. They smile in ways that say, I've been there too. That's what pain does. It makes you tender. And tenderness, that's what the world needs more of. There's something quiet that happens when you stop running, when you stop trying to fix, to force, to control. You start to feel life again. You start to hear yourself again. Maybe you'll sit with a cup of coffee and realize you don't need to plan the whole future today. Maybe you'll walk outside and, for the first time in a long time, the wind will feel like it's saying, you made it this far. You can keep going. Those moments, they're tiny, but they're holy. They remind you that peace isn't dramatic. It's soft. It whispers. And it waits for you to slow down enough to notice it. So if your life feels uncertain right now, please, don't rush to fill the silence. Don't chase the next answer. Just breathe. Let yourself be exactly where you are. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're just in the middle. And the middle is where transformation happens. The caterpillar doesn't know it's becoming a butterfly. It just knows everything familiar is falling apart. But what's really happening is rebirth. Maybe that's what this season is for you. Not an ending, a becoming. I know sometimes it feels lonely, like no one understands the heaviness you carry. But there's a strange kind of beauty in that too, because it means you're feeling deeply. It means your heart is awake. And when the world feels like too much, remember, it's okay to rest. It's okay to cry. It's okay to not have it together. You're human, and that's enough. You don't need to prove your worth through productivity or perfection. You are already enough. Even in your uncertainty, even in your quiet days. And if you ever forget that, come back here. Let's walk this road together. You don't have to face it all alone. Subscribe, not because you have to, but because maybe it's time to fill your space with voices that remind you of peace. This channel, this little corner of the internet, can be that soft place for you. Somewhere to breathe, to remember, to start again. So, tonight, as you listen to these words, I hope you feel this. You're allowed to not know. You're allowed to trust that even the uncertain path can lead somewhere beautiful. Life has a way of surprising us when we stop trying to control it. Maybe the peace you're searching for is already walking beside you, quietly, patiently, waiting for you to notice. So take one more deep breath. It's okay. You're doing just fine. Maybe not perfect, but perfectly human. And maybe that's all I've ever asked you to be. You know, there comes a point where you stop asking life to be easy and start asking it to be real. Maybe that's what acceptance really is, not giving up, not saying this is fine, but quietly saying, I can live with this. I can still find peace here. It's the soft kind of strength, the kind that doesn't shout, doesn't fight, doesn't need to be right. It just breathes. And maybe that's where we start to understand that peace isn't about escaping what hurts. It's about learning to stand in the middle of it and still feel love. I used to think acceptance meant being okay with everything that happens. But that's not true. You don't have to like the pain to stop fighting it. You can still wish things were different and also be grateful for what they're teaching you. Acceptance isn't a door that closes. It's one that opens. It's saying, I'm here now. I can work with this. And once you do, life starts to soften. It's like standing in the rain. The moment you stop trying to run, you realize it's not so bad. You feel the drops. You breathe deeper. You realize you're still here. Maybe peace isn't about the world changing. Maybe it's about the way we see it. You start to look around and notice small things again. The way morning light hits your window, the sound of a friend's voice, the feeling of being alive even after everything. These little things, they're not small at all. They're proof that even in uncertainty, there's beauty. Even in pain, there's still something kind. I think we forget sometimes that healing isn't about fixing ourselves. It's about remembering who we were before the world told us to be afraid. There's a softness in you that life tries to harden, but it never really goes away. It waits for you. It waits for the moment you finally stop trying to be perfect and start allow yourself to just be. Maybe peace begins the day you stop running from yourself. When you can sit with your own heart, messy as it is, and whisper, you're safe now. And if you're listening to this right now, maybe you need to hear this. Nothing is wrong with you. You're not behind. You're not failing. You're growing in invisible ways. You're learning to trust, to release, to love again even when it scares you. You're learning that peace isn't found when everything feels good. It's found when you realize you can handle things even when they don't. That's real peace. The quiet kind. The kind that doesn't depend on anything outside of you. Sometimes life feels like it's taking too long, doesn't it? Like everyone else is moving ahead while you're still standing still. But here's something I've learned. Life doesn't delay what's meant for you. It's just preparing you for it. Every pause, every detour, every heartbreak is shaping you into the person who'll be ready when it finally arrives. And when that day comes, you'll look back and see that what felt like waiting was actually growing. So tonight, maybe you can let go just a little more. Let go of the timeline. Let go of needing to have all the answers. Let go of who you think you should be by now. Because maybe the person you are, right here, right now, is already enough. Maybe peace isn't something you chase. It's something you uncover, piece by piece, every time you stop fighting what is. And if you're still here listening, maybe this message was meant to find you. Maybe it's life's gentle way of reminding you. You're doing better than you think. You're not lost. You're in the process of becoming. So take one deep breath with me. Feel your chest rise. Feel the air fill you. That's life. Simple, quiet, always moving, always renewing. You don't need to rush to understand it. You just need to keep showing up. If these words make you feel a little lighter, a little calmer, stay. Subscribe if you like, not because you have to, but because maybe you need small reminders like this. Soft spaces where you can breathe and remember what peace sounds like. We'll keep walking through this together, one breath, one thought, one moment at a time. And maybe, just maybe, you'll start to see that acceptance isn't the end of the journey. It's the beginning of finally coming home. To yourself, to life, to peace. You know, once you begin to accept where you are, something beautiful starts to happen. You start to trust life again. Not in the loud, confident way people talk about in books or quotes, but in a quiet, almost secret way. It's the kind of trust that says, I don't know how this will work out, but somehow I believe it will. It's not blind faith. It's not pretending everything's fine. It's simply remembering that somehow, even in your hardest moments, you've always found a way through. Every time you thought it was the end, you made it. Maybe not gracefully, maybe not perfectly, but you did. And that's proof enough that you can trust yourself, even when you can't trust the path. Trust doesn't mean you stop feeling afraid. It means you stop letting fear make your decisions. It means you let go of the need to control every outcome and instead start showing up with an open heart, even when it's trembling. Maybe that's what courage really is, not the absence of fear, but the decision to keep walking anyway. There's a quiet bravery in that, the kind no one sees, but it changes everything. When you start trusting life again, you begin to notice small miracles, moments that feel almost too gentle to name. A stranger's smile, a message that arrives at the right time, the way a song suddenly speaks to what you're feeling. Those moments, they're not coincidences. They're reminders, signs that even when you can't see the whole picture, something larger, kinder, wiser is still guiding you. I think sometimes we forget that trust isn't about having all the answers. It's about being okay with not knowing. It's about saying, I'll walk this path one step at a time, even if I can't see the whole road. Because maybe if we could see everything ahead of us, we'd miss the magic of becoming. The uncertainty, it's part of how we grow. It's what keeps us curious, humble, alive. There was a time I tried to plan everything, every next move, every detail. I thought if I could just stay in control, I'd feel safe. But the truth is, control is heavy. It's exhausting. And it never really worked. Life kept surprising me anyway. So I stopped trying to fight the current and started to float. And the strange thing is, the moment I let go, things started to fall into place. Not because I forced them, but because I finally got out of the way. Maybe life knows what it's doing, even when we don't. Maybe every delay, every detour, every unanswered prayer is just life's way of saying, not yet. Something better is still growing. When you trust that, you stop rushing. You stop comparing. You start breathing again. You start noticing how much beauty there still is, even in the middle of uncertainty. And you start to trust yourself too. You realize you've made it through storms before. You've healed from things you thought you never would. You've stood back up when life knocked you down. That kind of strength, that quiet resilience, it's worth trusting. You might not have all the answers, but you have yourself, and that's enough. So tonight, maybe you can let go just a little bit more. Trust that it's okay not to know what's next. Trust that you'll be guided. Trust that your heart, even if it's still healing, knows the way, because life isn't against you. It's shaping you, preparing you, loving you in ways you might not understand yet. And if you need a reminder, come back here. We'll keep walking together, softly, slowly, one breath at a time. You don't have to figure everything out right now. You just have to take the next small step with faith, even if that faith is only the size of a whisper. If these words feel like a hand on your shoulder, if they remind you that maybe you're doing better than you think, stay a little longer. Subscribe if you'd like. This isn't just a channel. It's a space for hearts learning to trust again. To remember that even when the road is uncertain, you are never truly lost. So take a breath. Feel the quiet. The world may not always make sense, but you are safe here. And maybe, just maybe, everything is unfolding exactly as it should, even if you can't see it yet. You know, after a while, something starts to change. When you've learned to trust the flow of life, when you stop fighting every wave, healing begins to feel different. It's no longer a battle. It's more like remembering. You start to remember what it feels like to breathe without fear, to wake up without the heavy weight of yesterday sitting on your chest. Healing isn't a sudden light breaking through the clouds. It's slower, softer, like morning light slipping quietly through the window. You don't even notice it at first. But one day, you wake up and realize you're not hurting the same way anymore. You're lighter. You laugh again, even if just a little. You start to trust joy, just as you once trusted pain. Healing doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It means making peace with the parts of yourself that were hurt. It's holding your past with compassion instead of shame. It's saying, yes, that was hard, but it shaped me. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start saying, this happened for me, to help me grow, to make me gentler, stronger, more real. And once you see your pain that way, it loses its power to define you. It becomes a story you carry, not a weight you drag. There's a kind of freedom that comes with that. The freedom of not needing everything to be perfect anymore. The freedom of knowing that even if life changes, and it always will, you'll be okay. You've learned that peace doesn't depend on what happens around you. It grows from what happens within you. You've learned that you can start again, anytime, anywhere, no matter how broken things once felt. That's real freedom. Sometimes healing looks like doing nothing, just sitting quietly with yourself, letting your heart rest. Sometimes it looks like forgiving someone who never apologized. Sometimes it's walking away without needing to explain why. Healing can be messy. It can take years. But it's always happening, even when you can't see it. Every time you choose kindness over bitterness, every time you let go instead of holding on, that's healing. And as you begin to heal, you start to see beauty in the smallest things again. The way sunlight hits your hand, the sound of your own laughter, the feeling of being alive, even after everything. You realize that freedom isn't about escaping life. It's about returning to it fully, with open arms. You stop waiting for the perfect moment to be happy. You just let happiness happen in tiny pieces, right here, right now. Maybe that's what healing really is, not becoming someone new, but remembering who you were before fear taught you to close off. The real you, the one who loved deeply, who believed easily, who found joy in simple things. That version of you is still here, always has been. You're just finding your way back to them. And maybe as you walk this path, you start to forgive yourself too, for the things you didn't know, for the mistakes you made while you were just trying to survive. You start to see that you were doing your best with the understanding you had at the time, and that's enough. You don't owe anyone perfection. You owe yourself peace. So if you're listening to this and you're still in the middle of healing, please take your time. There's no deadline. You don't have to rush to feel okay. You're not behind. You're becoming. Every scar, every tear, every long night has been carving something sacred in you, something stronger, wiser, more compassionate. That's what healing does. It builds beauty out of brokenness. And when you finally feel free, when you realize that the things that used to hurt you don't hold the same power anymore, you'll smile in a new way. Not the smile that hides the pain, but the one that says, I made it through. And that's when you'll understand. Peace was never something to find. It was something you grew inside yourself all along. If these words are touching something in you, maybe it's because you're already healing quietly, patiently, in ways you can't yet see. And if you'd like to keep walking this journey together, I'd love for you to stay. Subscribe if you want to, not for numbers, but for connection. For moments like this, when life feels too loud, and you just need a quiet space to remember who you are. So tonight, as you breathe and let the world slow down, remember, you are free to begin again. You are free to forgive. You are free to let go. You are free to love life as it is, not as you wish it to be. Healing doesn't mean life becomes perfect. It means you finally learn how to live gently, no matter what comes. And that, my friend, that's freedom. Maybe after everything, that's what life has been trying to show us. That peace isn't found at the end of the road, but in the way we walk it. Through all the confusion, the letting go, the rebuilding, it's been guiding us home, not to some perfect version of ourselves, but to the real one, the one who can sit quietly in the middle of uncertainty and still whisper, "I'm okay." The one who knows that not every answer needs to come today, that sometimes just breathing is enough. You see, life doesn't promise us clarity. It promises change. And in between all those changes, we're given moments, small, beautiful, fleeting moments, where we get to feel what it means to be alive. The warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of someone laughing next to you, the feeling of belonging to this world. Even when you don't understand it, that's peace, not a permanent state, not something you earn, just something that visits when you're still enough to notice. So maybe it's not about finding the perfect path. Maybe it's about walking gently, wherever you are, trusting that each step has meaning, even the ones that hurt, because every stumble, every heartbreak, every pause, they've all been shaping you, teaching you how to see, how to love, how to live softer. I know it's not easy. Some days the world feels heavy, and your heart feels tired. But you've made it this far. You faced storms and still found the strength to keep going. That says something about you. You might not see it yet, but I do. You're growing into someone who carries peace differently now. Not because life got easier, but because you learned how to stay gentle inside it. And maybe that's all we really need, to stay gentle, to speak kindly, to listen deeply. To remember that every person we meet is also carrying something unseen. When you start to see the world that way, everything softens. You stop needing to win, to rush, to prove. You start to simply be. And that's where peace lives, not in control, but in surrender. Not in knowing, but in trusting. If you've listened this far, maybe it's because some part of you has been looking for this, a voice that doesn't rush you, a space where you can exhale. So thank you, truly, for being here. You could be anywhere else right now, but you chose this small, quiet corner. That means something. It means you're ready to slow down, to listen, to trust yourself again. And if these words have brought you even a tiny sense of calm, I'd love for you to stay. Subscribe. Not for numbers, but because I want this space to keep existing. For you, for me, for anyone who needs a place to rest their thoughts. A place that feels human again. So, before you go, take one last slow breath. Let it fill you. Let it remind you that you are here, right now, alive in this very moment, and that's enough. You don't need to be more. You don't need to fix everything. You're allowed to just be. Maybe tomorrow will bring answers. Maybe it won't. But tonight, peace is enough. The world will keep spinning. Life will keep unfolding. And you'll keep finding your way. And when it all feels too heavy again, come back here. There will always be a quiet voice waiting to remind you. It's okay to not know. It's okay to rest. It's okay to be human. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Until next time, take care of your heart, trust the process, and remember, life doesn't need to be perfect to be beautiful. Sometimes it just needs to be real. You know, sometimes after all the words, all the lessons, all the trying, there's just silence. And in that silence, something beautiful begins to happen. You start hearing your own voice again. Not the one shaped by fear or expectations, but the one that's been quietly waiting underneath it all. Patient, gentle, true. Maybe that's the voice we've been searching for all along. It doesn't rush you. It doesn't demand answers. It just whispers, you're doing fine. Even when you doubt yourself. Even when you fall back into old habits. Even when you forget everything you've learned. Because healing isn't a straight line. It's a dance. Sometimes forward, sometimes backward, but always towards something softer. And maybe that's enough to keep returning to yourself again and again. To remember that peace doesn't mean the absence of chaos. It means choosing calm in the middle of it. It means saying, maybe I don't have it all figured out, and maybe that's okay. We live in a world that tells us to chase success, happiness, perfection. But maybe what we really need is to pause. To sit by the window with a cup of tea, watching the rain fall. To call someone we love just to say, hey, I was thinking of you. To let a moment be just what it is. Unpolished, unspectacular, but still beautiful. Because that's where the soul breathes. In the quiet, ordinary spaces of life. The way sunlight hits the floor in the morning. The sound of your own laughter when you finally let go. The peace that comes not from control, but from acceptance. So, as you step back into your day, or into your night, I hope you carry this with you. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't need to rush to the next version of yourself. You're already becoming simply by being here, simply by listening. And if these words have found you at the right time, maybe they're not mine anymore. Maybe they're yours now, to keep, to hold, to return when the world feels too loud. Before we end, let's take one last breath together. In and out. That's all. That's peace. That's life. If you'd like to walk this journey with me again, subscribe. Not out of routine, but because you believe, like I do, that gentle spaces matter. That words can still heal. That silence can still speak. Until next time, be kind to yourself. Be patient with the unfolding. And remember, even in the middle of uncertainty, you are never truly lost. You're just becoming who you were always meant to be.